Takes more than guts to be a gangster. It takes good ideas. And I hope these ideas help you. Hey, what's up, guys? This is your mob boss, Gangster KT. And today we are going to go through my second Glock Watch video. So this is Gangster KT's tribute to Philosopher, focused on daily account optimization. So I think most of you guys know this, but Philosopher used to do a stock watch video that was amazing. It's the video I looked forward to the most each month from any CC, and really based a lot of my account decisions on his recommendations. So I know he retired from making videos for MSF, so I wanted to try and recreate this to help the community. So with that said, let's get right into this. It's pretty amazing. One, I waited a while to bring this out because I really wanted to see how Apocalypse changed the meta, understand how that would impact Arena, Crucible, etc. So I wanted to wait a few weeks with him out because that's a huge deal. Obviously, we've worked on him for a year. So again, apologies for the pause on this, but we will get into it here. So let's first go through our mob rules, the approach to roster optimization. So rule number 1, do not talk about the mob, as always. So shout out to Fight Club there. Rule number 2, I like to have my PvP teams as big as possible. And I'll say that's mainly, even these days, the Crucible teams, and then raid teams as big as needed. So rule number 3, prioritize the newest characters, draw the line and don't invest below it. So just staying focused on those new characters with the power creep is very important. Rule number 4, identify the power on teams and focus there. Don't just take everyone up equally. So you don't necessarily want to take a whole team and say, all 5 should be level 90. If some of them are kit-based characters and you're really just relying on them clearing debuffs from you, which aren't a focus check, or applying buffs, things like that, then you don't need to have them as big as the damage dealers or maybe the tank or some of the other characters on the team. Rule number 5, focus gold spending on leveling and new tunes. So that's a shout out to not buying the teal pieces with gold. I do say with exception. So right now I am very close to having all 5 of my Gamma characters T17. But I have an imbalance on the 2 pieces. So because I'm so close, I actually am buying that piece right now that I'm low on. So like all rules, there are exceptions, but in general, I think still focusing on leveling is the best use of gold, and powering up your new tunes as well. Rule number 6, use resources with event in mind. So save golden cores and cross that out. Save everything to double dip during events. So sounds like there's a training orb event coming up soon, and who knows what they're going to pull out. So it's kind of unfortunate, but at this point, you just want to save everything in your mailbox. Save your raid milestones, save things in any place you can, just to be able to use them when there's events going on. Then rule number 7, right now, the mob is focused on internal training and building within. If you see my last videos, you know this, but I'm not spending money on new tunes. So one thing that's crazy, like for World War II new character, we get 45 shards. For Union Jack, it sounds like, or it looks like we get, I think, about 120 in that event. They've just completely changed the amount of shards in these new character releases, and no one's really talked about it that much. So I thought with World War II, there had to be another event coming soon that was his actual release event where you got most of his shards, but it doesn't look like that's the case. So I'm guessing that Scopely's shifting from, instead of having like a big initial release event and then waiting months and then eventually having them be farmable, it seems like they are going to release them more slowly over time. And I think we're seeing that with the rebirth and kind of the influx of unexpected shards recently. So, we'll probably get more than 2 stars on World War II before he's farmable. But it's just a pretty big shift and definitely changing some of my recommendations here. All right, so next let's go through gaining favor. This is the mobsters on the rise right now. So number 1 would be very remiss to not talk about Apocalypse. So I know he was really disappointing to a lot of people when he first came out. They reworked him. And I think for the most part that addressed it. He's definitely attuned to fully max out as quickly as you can. He's going to be in the meta for a long, long time with the Horseman by himself. One thing I will say is with the reworks, he is somewhat gimmicky. So he has the specific callouts against Weaver, and against Safeguard. So his ability to remain in the meta long term is going to be like, can he counter future gimmicks, and will he still have that ability? So, it's not like they just made him an overall stat beast to beat everyone. They did make his kit a little gimmicky there, so that's interesting. But again, Apocalypse is the man. He's amazing. We're using him everywhere, so go all in on him. Red Hawk. So wow, I'm saying, the best character in the game, or maybe second best, is on the rise. That should be pretty obvious, but I think with this new meta right now and Apocalypse coming out, Red Hawk is actually more valuable in Arena than what he was, when people were using the Speed Weaver teams and things like that. And he is overall, I still think, the best tune in the game. So I'm going all in on Red Hawk. I bought a 7th Red Star. I took him to Blue ISO 5 as the first character there. So I think he is still well worth maxing out. And with him having that overall, that new ability where, he puts the bleeds and attacks the character on their turns. I forget what that's called. But that's a whole new concept in the game. And so that's going to stay around for a long time. Red Hawk will be valuable. Next is Spider-Man Noir. So I'm not saying he's the best character in the game, but he has been very much hated on. Obviously, I have a very personal bias to this guy. He is still the worst Tangled Web character, so I don't want to get carried away, but I'm definitely finding more usage for him. So have been using him in Room 5 on Cosmic Crucible defense. So may switch that up from some of the things I saw last Crucible, but I think he's just more solidified as part of that Tangled Web team, which is going to be a good team and be around for a while. I think as we do get more stars on him, his damage is very impressive. Then that speed mechanic when enemies get buffs is pretty cool and could keep him valuable for a long time. So again, not the best character. He is the worst on that team, but I think he is on the rise and someone to keep an eye on. And then number 4 is Nakia. I'm sure a lot of people have been here for a while. You guys have heard me talk about her for a while, but just the highest damage character in the game. And it shows when you start getting more stars on her. That ping, especially in war, where it's the 350% piercing instead of, I think, 150% outside of war. I forget what it is, but it is just unbelievable. And so I really care about war. It's my favorite game mode, and Nakia is going to be the baddest in war for a long time. She may be the second best character in war overall after Red Hawk. So definitely worth investing in her. If I had a 7th yellow star, I would buy her 7th red star in a second, but I don't. So those are mobsters on the rise. Next, let's talk through pouring cement. So these are mobsters about to drown, sitting on top of the bridge, getting ready to be put off. So, we don't want to invest in them. I'll say with some exceptions on here, I have a pretty good team or two on here, so I will talk through that. They aren't going to drown, but they're definitely on the downswing, I think. So number 1, Bionic Avengers. Once the Invaders out, the Bionic Avengers are actually going to be the weakest raid team for their origin, and that's pretty crazy. Additionally, Scopely has really gone out of their way to clarify how useful Rebirth and Invaders will be for their new raid. And there's been a pretty obvious omission there with Bionic Avengers. So I think Bionic Avengers are going to be replaced in the next 2 to 4 months. Scopely is tripping over themselves to try and make every new team mandatory. And one of the ways they can do that is raid teams. So they've come out with so many new raid teams recently, and I expect that to continue. And when the new raid comes out, Bionic Avengers are going to be one of the first teams replaced. So additionally, we aren't really using them in the Scourge anymore. Now it's been out for a while. So just they've seen their best days. If you aren't getting through the tech nodes, sure, still invest in them. Make sure they're doing what you need them to do as a raid team. But I think Bionic Avengers are on their way down. Next, pretty obvious, but Secret Avengers and Shang-Chi. So this is mainly a shout out to Invaders and the fact that Secret Avengers and Shang-Chi won't be used in raids anymore. Additionally, I'm definitely still using them in Crucible, mainly as an unlimited counter in Room 4 right now. With Dormammu, but as new teams keep coming out and with the power creep and those teams going to be in the meta, I think that Secret Avengers and even Shang-Chi are going to start getting pushed out of Crucible soon. So they'll be used in war for quite a while with there being so many more war teams. But I just think they're right on that verge of the meta. They're still great characters, but they aren't going to be used in raids. They're getting pushed out of other modes. So definitely would not put a lot of resources into Secret Avengers and Shang-Chi right now. And then number 3, and this one hurts. You guys know that for me, I went very big on this team, both with buying the new characters and, really trying to max them out immediately. So number 3 is Masters of Evil. They're still definitely meta in Cosmic Crucible. There's no question there. I mean, they're probably the best offensive team. You can, maybe build a random meta team better than them, but definitely still one of the best teams in Crucible. But as we know, with the changes they made to Room 5 and Mobile Gamer has really explained it well, how intentional those were with that note they made before about Room 5 subject to change down the road. just to make sure we buy Masters of Evil, and then they make it so they aren't the hardest room killing team anymore. So they can't beat room 5, and that's really disappointing. And they're really almost pigeonholed, at least for how I'm using them right now, to attacking the Wakanda in room 6. So they're amazing against Wakanda. So amazing that I think my past 4 or 5 matches, the Wakandas haven't even gotten a turn in that match before Kang's ult wipes them all. But with that being said, and knowing it's just that initial speed control with Ultron and then Kang blowing him up with the ult, like you don't really need them bigger. So as long as you're winning that match, it's not that critical to upgrade them. They're also very disappointing in war. As we know, I forget, I think I went against Unlimited the first time with them in war and lost, but whatever team it was, I lost, and it was one that wasn't one of the hardest teams, and I just was really disappointed. So Masters of Evil, once this room changes again and there's not this auto room 6 where the opponent doesn't get a turn, I'd guess there's going to be value in trying to get them as big as you can again. But right now, I'm just not seeing it. And even though they're one of the best teams, I've stopped investing in them, even though my goal was, they'd be my first team fully 95 when that was the case, etc. But I'm not really investing in them anymore. They're doing everything I need them to, and incremental investments won't help. So next, let's talk about the new Mafia recruits. New members are those who have reworked themselves. So number 1 is Invaders. And the note I just have is, I'm not focusing on Invaders at all. I feel completely lost on Invaders. I don't really know how to explain it. I haven't even really read through the kits and has tried to be a CC and give you guys advice. That's not very helpful. But I have a 2-star World War II. I do have Fury, obviously, working on the stars now that Union Jack month-long event is out. But I just don't know what I'm going to do with him. Secret Avengers are still doing fine in skill for me. It's tough. It stinks. I have to use some heals, but they're doing what I need them to do there. I know when the new raid comes out, Invaders will be needed. But again, that shift in the new shards, I'm just not sure how long it's going to be for them until they're actually used in other game modes. Will a 2-star World War II do anything in Crucible? Will a 3-star Union Jack do anything in Crucible? I doubt it. I don't even know if that's going to be enough to do things in raids. On the test server, people were testing 5 stars. And again, you don't get 5 stars or even 4 stars on new characters right now. So Invaders are a very low priority for me. I will say is trying to min-max account overall. Like I did take World War II up to T13, level 70, so I could get, more of the rewards on that Union Jack event. I think it was mainly training materials you got. So I do think it's still worth investing if there's other game bonuses for it that are important. But Invaders themselves, again, maybe not the best advice, but I'm not touching them. I don't really care. I don't understand them yet. I know I'm going to need to build them for the new raid down the road, but that's it. Number 2, Rebirth. So as I've said before, it's a raid team. Build them as big as needed. And then stop. And so, that's as big as you need them for Doom. They're doing great in there. I will say the extra shards we've gotten for them have been really nice, and, just makes autoing those nodes in Doom a little easier, or makes it a little more automatic as those guys start to get bigger, especially Agent Venom. I am using Rebirth a lot, using War, Crucible, not Arena, obviously, and then definitely raids, but I wouldn't say they're a meta team right now outside of raids. So they are current low priority. I will say I've thought it's hilarious how much Scopely's tripping over themselves to make sure everyone knows Invaders and Rebirth are not skippable. Like that's something that should be obvious from the characters coming out, from their kits, from how you should use them. And we try and find those places where they aren't because we just don't have enough resources right now. Scopely's like, no, guys, for real. You cannot skip them. So it's actually become comical watching how much they're saying that. But I wanted to make sure to reinforce that very important Scopely message that no matter what I've said here talking through these teams, Invaders and Rebirth are not skippable. So with that said, I'm skipping Invaders. So lastly on here, New Warriors. New Warriors, we haven't really seen. They have been reworked for Cloak Dagger and Deathpool in the game right now. But we really haven't seen the full new team. It's going to be another maybe month or few weeks till that's out. But I will say with them being a Crucible meta and supposedly the solution to Room 5, they're the next team that we should be going all in on and leveling and gearing immediately. So that's my plans. I'm making sure to save up enough golden training mats to do that. When the 2 new characters come out, I already do have Cloak Dagger and Deathpool up at those basically max levels already, not quite, but T16 and level 91, somewhere in that ballpark. So again, I think they're worth going all in. What I will say is tempered expectations after the MODE disappointment that I talked about earlier. So, this is the exact same place I was at with Masters of Evil. It's like they're going to counter the hardest room. They're the next big team. I'll be able to use them in Crucible. So surely they're going to be great in War. Maybe some raid viability, who knows? And I'm tempering those expectations. So don't really expect much out of them out of War, but Crucible is so important. It's not my favorite mode. It's my second favorite. But as far as prioritizing, I probably do prioritize it first just because there are so fewer teams. So normally those do apply everywhere. So again, new warriors, I would recommend maxing out as much as you can once they come out. So last section that I wanted to cover, building the arsenal. So I have changed this a little bit to add a few more categories because where we're at right now, it's the first time we've ever had decisions on blue ISO 4, depending on where you're in the game, or first time I've ever had to worry about blue ISO 5, which is a great problem to have. Don't have it much, but I've had it a little bit here. So wanted to add new things, dark promos, blue ISO 4 and blue ISO 5 of these recommendations as well. So overall, my approach to red stars has not changed. I commit early. So when new characters come out, or when I get that yellow star to where I could do a red star upgrade, I make that decision within a day or two, because the earlier the better, and that's the most value for a character. I will not waste weeks or months pondering an upgrade. And then additionally, I think good focus are rework tunes on meta teams. So someone like Nick Fury. Now I haven't done him because he's a raid character and I mainly focus on PvP. But if you have high yellow stars, you can get a lot of value out of those rework tunes when they first come out for these new teams and doing the red star upgrades there. And then, as I've said before, the 7 red star upgrade is underrated. I like having my best characters as powerful as possible. It does cost more, but you get more bang as well. So it ends up being the same ratio of percent power increase to credits that you spend. So I do think the 7 red star is worth doing when you can. So let's talk about what gangsters to upgrade there for our red stars. So for the gold promos, the most obvious is Spider Weaver. Still one of the best characters in the game. We should all have her 7 yellow star if you were in the right arena shard when they made that mistake. So I still think that run to get 6 red star, get 7 red star on Spider Weaver as fast as you can. I think it's a no-brainer. Number 2 is Kang. So I have him at 5 yellow. So I'm not able to do this, but I am saving gold promos. Hopefully they'll give us more Kang shards. I doubt it. He's probably going to take forever. But he's just so good. So definitely worth doing red stars on him if you can. Next is Icarus. So he was on this list last time. He's still just amazing. He's not going anywhere. He's more viable right now, even in Crucible, because that Room 5 change. But even without that change, you're using him in Crucible every single match. Using them in War, using them in Raid. So Icarus just gets the extra bang with the way his ult works, and also with his health refills. He's got all kinds of parts to his kit that value from red stars, so he's worth doing. Next is Nakia. She's new on the list this time, but again, now that we're maybe starting to get some more yellow stars on her, she is just unbelievable damage. She lets you do crazy counters on War against Stormhold, against Darkhold, against some really important teams, and then using her in Crucible, even once this Room 6 shenanigans is over, because I am using her in there, but I don't feel like power really matters for her in there with the MOE counter. But next season when things change, her incremental power should be important again. So I think Nakia is definitely worth investing in. And I have all the ones before her as high as I can. So again, if I had her yellow star, that is who I would do. Next is Kestrel. Older tune. Hopefully you have her 7 red star already. Hopefully you did it a year ago to get all that type of value. But Kestrel's still unbelievable. As the raid meta changes, she might not be used in raids, but she is going to be used in this game for years to come in Crucible and War. So I think she's still definitely worth investing in, and just gets huge benefit from that extra red star with her pings. Additionally, the focus with her ult and clearing buffs, really valuable. So just a great character to have red stars on. Next is Gambit, and I'll say a little similar to what I was saying with Nakia on Crucible defense. If you're using Gambit in Room 4, I'm not sure how much the incremental power gains are valuable. just because the counters there are pretty solid. But if you want to have a chance at some RNG and of winning that match, having a 7 red star Gambit is definitely the best way to do that. He's the best one to put red stars on in that team. And as the meta does change and hopefully, things maybe aren't so cookie cutter for teams like Wakanda and Unlimited, I think that incremental value with him and those pings he does will really pay off long term. So still recommending him. And then lastly is New Warriors. And I'll say, I don't know yet which of the three or maybe the new ones too, but yellow stars on the new ones will take a while. Our best, my best guess right now would be Dagger. I'm probably going to do one of them soon, and I probably will use Dagger, but I want to do a little more testing. But again, they're the newest, biggest, and baddest Cosmic Crucible team, and they are characters that are getting reworked. So ones that you have a chance to get those 6 or 7 red stars on right now. So Dagger would be my recommendation for now, and I'll let you guys know if I change that. Getting into dark promos. So dark promos are a little different. But here's what I'd recommend. I'd say I'm not fully sure because so much of it depends on who the next character is that's going to use dark promos. I think the guess is Quicksilver, and he should be amazing. But my recommendation right now would be Red Hawk. So if you have especially a 6 red star Red Hawk, I would buy that 7th red star Red Hawk if you have the dark promo credits to do it. Again, best character in the game. You want him as big as possible. And since I've done that upgrade, I've definitely noticed the difference and think it's really valuable to do. If I had a 5 red star Red Hawk, I'm not sure if I would do that 6 and then still the 7. So I probably wouldn't do the 6 unless I knew I was going to do the 7 as well. And by the time you can get that many dark promo credits, and we're talking 8,000 overall, just not really even sure if it's still going to be worth doing at that point. So I think it's worth doing a 7 for sure, but the value on that 6 red star for the cost of 3,500 dark promos is probably the worst red star investment in the game. And so I really don't like to do that 6 unless I'm going to do the 7. So after Red Hawk, but again, let me say, like, if I'm about to hit the cap on dark promo credits and I have a 5 red star Red Hawk, I'm going to buy a 6 versus losing dark promo credits. So just wanted to talk through how I look at that, but do whatever's best for you. I do think Red Hawk's the best character to invest in. My next device will be the next character. Again, I'm kind of assuming that's Quicksilver, but even if not, the next character that uses dark promo credits, unless they do another Iron Zombie Man type thing where their power doesn't matter as much, is going to be a beast, is going to need those red stars. So I think, after Red Hawk, I would just save them unless you're about to cap out, and then maybe go to the next items on the list. But I really do think saving for that next character is the right move right now. Number 3 and number 4, pretty much a tie, but I think Morgan Le Fay and Dormammu. So both of them are top 5 characters in the game. We're using them in every game mode all over the place, and really get a lot of value from the red stars. So for Dormammu, his ult is just so powerful. Those red stars make that damage even more. And as you know, in Crucible, that usually turns the tides and what you're relying on a lot of fights. Morgan, I just don't see Darkseid going anywhere anytime soon. And even when they do, Morgan's going to be around forever. So investing in her, getting that extra damage, if she's a striker on her follow-up attack, even on her basic, her ult doing so much damage, definitely worth Morgan getting those extra red stars too. So that's the order that I'd go in for dark promo credits. Next, I want to talk about Blue ISO 4. So obviously, if you don't have all 23 of your, Horseman Saga characters up to Blue ISO 4, start there. Finish them off. Make sure you can get your baby Apocalypse. But for the first time in a long time, I've had to think, okay, who do I want to put them on next? So in order, and not going to talk through these a ton, but the one thing I'll say when I've thought through these, the one stat you don't get an increase on for Blue ISO 4 is damage. So you get focus, resistance, armor, and health. You do get the 2% damage from doing the actual piece upgrades for the Blue ISO 4. Those 5 pieces, you get 2% each stat, but the main 10% increase doesn't include damage. So the real value here, I think, is focus and resistance, that 10% increase there. So that's what I've tried to keep in mind. And, someone like Nakia, who's one of my favorite characters, one of the best to invest in, she's all damage. And so that increase doesn't help her out as much as someone that does a little more reliant on focus. So with that said, my order for recommendation there is Apocalypse, then Kang, then 2099, just mainly to make sure he lands those debuffs with that extra focus. Dormammu after that, Icarus, Doom, and Black Panther to be able to hit those defense down. So just a recommendation. I really don't think it matters a ton. I mean, it really gets to the point where you just want to do your best characters or your favorite characters. But since we are making that decision for the first time, I wanted to show you what I am doing there. And then lastly, top gangsters for blue ISO 5. So this one's pretty obvious. And the answer, sneak peek, is mainly Darkhold. But I will say I did do Red Hawk first. As slow as the blue ISO 5's taking, I think it's worth doing Red Hawk. That extra 20% damage is unbelievable from that blue ISO 5 bonus. And with him being the best character and so useful, I didn't want to wait until it was his turn in order to do him, because that's going to be months away. And I think it's worth delaying by one character your progress in the Big Boy Apocalypse saga by go ahead and doing Red Hawk now. But after that, I'm focusing solely on Big Boy Apocalypse. So that first node, from my understanding, in the hard saga version does give his third red star. And so that's really valuable. So I'm just going to do the the Darkhold in order after Red Hawk. And so in order, I'm doing Morgan, Agatha, and I have done those two already. Wong, Heartless, and then Scarlet Witch. Once Darkhold's done, I'll switch to Unlimited to be able to do that second node. So Gambit is the first one I'll do Unlimited. Same thing I said with the Red Stars. I think he's just the best character on that team, or the most, maybe not the best. Rogue might be better, but the most worthy of getting upgrades and where you get the value from those upgrades the most. So Gambit would be the next one to do after Red Hawk and after your Darkhold. So that is my second Glock Watch. Went through a lot of information there, but hopefully this is the type of stuff you guys are looking for and was really helpful to you. So as always, I give you my word that this is the best advice I have. All I have in this world is my balls and my word, and I don't break them for no one. Peace.